everyone. It's Elizabeth from Elpis Astrology at elpisastrology.com. Thanks for joining me today. So today is my take on the June 2023 astrology. As always, you get to choose what you would like to do with these energies. Nothing is predetermined for you. So this is an interesting month, June 2023. We have the influence of a few things in terms of like the tone. So we have obviously the influences of the two luminaries, the moons, which is going to be Sagittarius and Gemini. And these signs are what are called mutable signs. They are flexible. They're able to change their minds. So it's that kind of thing that you're going to have as a base influence. But what's interesting is that we have a lot of Taurus in the chart as well. Taurus, of course, is a fixed sign, and it doesn't like to change things. So these are kind of opposing forces in some ways. But from a positive standpoint, I would say that having something immovable like Taurus, and then something that's constantly changing, Gemini for sure, but Sagittarius is thrown in there too. I think it gives some sense of harnessing changes in a positive way. And if we combine this whole thing of Taurus, Gemini, and Sagittarius, we're really looking at here trade, right? Trade from a standpoint of local trade, as well as trade, foreign trade, is in the mix here. Certainly travel is also featured, short-term travel for Gemini and long-term travel for Sagittarius. And of course, Sagittarius rules the law too, as well as publishing. From the standpoint of the law, though, when we mix the Taurus influence there with Sagittarius, I would say this is laying down the law. So we may see a little bit of that too. The other overarching influence, which will go on past June, of course, is going to be Venus, that is in Leo, and Mars is in there too. And the important thing to note here is that both Venus and Mars in Leo in June will be direct. Now, we will have the shadow period happening, but I would say this is a really positive influence for those that are starting relationships. Leo is all about true love. It's about children too. And certainly the creative process, right? And being authentic. So I would say for those folks that start relationships in June, try to aim for being authentic and aim for asking, is this true love? All right. And I've done a video actually on the Venus retrograde, actually the whole Venus period, including the direct. I'll put the link below if you want to look at it. I look at all signs and ascendants. So right off on the 1st, we have Jupiter conjuncting the North Nodes. Recall that the North Nodes are just about ready to leave Taurus. They're around 3 degrees of Taurus. And remember, the nodes go backwards. So as those nodes get close to 0 degrees of Taurus, we know that we are going to have the next sign come into view. And that'll be around mid-July 2023 when the North Nodes go in Aries. But right now, we've got Jupiter in Taurus conjuncting those North Nodes right at the beginning of the month. So this says to me a few things, but it certainly brings a groundedness to our future destiny as a collective. So I expect something will come in here with regards to maybe some guidance. Jupiter at its best can be guidance. Jupiter at its best can be guidance, a teacher, that type of thing, some kind of expert in an area that lends its mentorship to you. Jupiter in Taurus, just as an influence, because now we have Jupiter in Taurus mid-May all the way through a little bit after mid-May 2024. And I think this is a lovely influence here. I see this really as a consolidation of what we are to grow into. that's what I really remember. Jupiter is all about growth. It's also about illuminating. It can bring in benefits for us as well. But I really felt that the growth part of this, because Taurus, of course, is all about growing things, building things, I really saw this whole time period of Jupiter and Taurus being a consolidation of what we're going to grow into. So that influence over the next year or so with Jupiter and Taurus will be in that direction. So our first illumination is going to be a full moon in Sagittarius, and that will be on the 3rd of June. It's at 13 Sagittarius, 18 minutes, and we know at every full moon, we have the sun in the opposite sign at 13 Gemini, 18 minutes. It'll occur at 8:43 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And what we look at next is the ruler. So the ruler of Sagittarius, of course, is Jupiter. And Jupiter has just gone into Taurus. And we know that at this full moon, Jupiter in Taurus is still conjunct that north node in Taurus too. Now, what's interesting is that whole configuration of Jupiter conjuncting the north nodes at this full moon in Sagittarius will square Pluto, which is at 0 degrees of Aquarius. So this can have some challenges. You know, squares are about challenges. And again, we go back to what I said at the beginning, that Jupiter wants to grow in Taurus. And in many areas, including real estate, food production, that sort of thing, as well as something to do with our money too. And so there's just some challenges here. Certainly if you have something, say, around, let's just say the 0 to 3 degree mark of either Taurus or Aquarius here, that square will be affecting you directly, and it may present some challenges to you with regards to you wanting to move ahead and grow something. Now, as I always say with squares gives us opportunities too. We don't want everything flowing freely all the time, because then we don't put the effort into it. So squares require us to put some effort. Is that such a bad thing? I don't think so. And, you know, both Jupiter and Taurus are relatively supporting, building types of energies, right? The other thing that we have, of course, is Mercury will be conjuncting Uranus. And I really saw this as sort of, with Mercury being the mind, as well as communications, but here I really saw an association with original, unique ideas. So certainly if you've got a time period where you're trying to develop unique, original ideas in whatever it is, let's just say art, or something like that, or maybe even in some form of gardening, because Taurus rules that too, right? I would say this is a good full moon to maybe make some announcements with regards to some original thinking that you've been doing. You may get some real support here for that with this conjunction. Surprising, unexpected support maybe too. You may also have, if you've got this aspect here, you may also have some surprising announcements to make. That may occur here too. Now, we have Venus that is in Cancer at 28 degrees. So we know that that's going to be opposite Pluto, even though Pluto is still in, technically, Aquarius going retrograde at 0 degrees. It's close enough in orb that we're going to say that Venus is opposite Pluto. And so these are karmic attractions. And so I would say that for those folks that feel a love relation has come in that feels fated, that's what this aspect brings in for you. Karmic attractions. I guess just give it some time to develop, certainly with the Venus retrograde going to be happening officially mid-July. You know, take the long view of it may very well be a karmic, fated, positive relationship. But maybe take the summertime period to look at it carefully with the Venus retrograde. So certainly Jupiter ruling this sign of Sagittarius emphasizes things like foreign connections, foreign people, foreign countries, also travel. So I got the impression here of certainly those types of things will be coming to some kind of culmination. If you have something around the 13-degree mark of Sagittarius, like an ascendant or a sun, this could definitely be a time of endings or culminations for you. Maybe you're ending a trip. That's very Sagittarius, especially a foreign trip overseas. Maybe some legal matter is tied up. That's positive for you. Publishing is also another big thing with regards to Sagittarius. So there may be some folks that have this degree, 13, 14 degrees of Sagittarius and or Gemini, that are actually publishing something. And that might be tied in for some folks with what I spoke about earlier, that whole Mercury conjunct Uranus, right? With original thinking, original ideas. Right, so from the 9th to the 13th of June, we have Jupiter at 5 degrees of Taurus. Now this is a heads up for you, because this is the degree point that we will have our final eclipse that will be in Taurus, and that'll be on the 28th of October 2023. And so there will be something that comes up between the 9th and the 13th, more from a global perspective. But if you've got something around the 5-degree Taurus mark or a 5-degree Scorpio, there may be something that comes to light for you. Jupiter may shine a big light for you on some area of your life that will come to some kind of culmination or conclusion at that eclipse on the 28th of October. So pay attention to what comes up at this time. As I said, Jupiter is all about all things foreign. It's travel. It's also the sign of the teacher, too. So all these things may be in the mix here during this time period. It could play out something as simple as somebody, taking their final boards for being literally a teacher. And that on the 28th of October or around that time period, that door closes and this person's an official teacher. It can also be an advisor, too. And especially as it's connected with Taurus, it can be a financial advisor, too. Now, the other thing that could happen at this time is literally an advisor of some sort to do with money or even foodstuffs and any kind of food growing, that type of thing. This could have somebody come forward that suggests a change. It can be a change in the money markets too. But I would say it's going to be probably someone that comes forward to introduce something at this time. And we know if we listen even a little bit to the news or read anything, that sort of thing is going on behind the scenes. But this is more an official type of thing that won't really come to some kind of fruition until that end of October this year, where there'll be a culmination point of some sort. Now, Jupiter as an influence, too, can increase things, right? So this could increase inflation as well. That might be another thing that comes forward around this time, 19th to 13th of June, but that maybe wanes off at the eclipse, where we see the end of something, a culmination of the ending of it. So on the 12th of June, Pluto retrograde will dip back into Capricorn at 29 degrees. And so this could just have some, vestiges of the old guard wanting to still exert its effects of some sort and pulling a power play or trying to pull a power play. But because Pluto is retrograde, it will not take full effect here for sure. It can be those in power working behind the scenes too, right, where we don't see it. All right, so on the 17th of June, we have a new moon in Gemini. So Happy New Year to all my Gemini viewers. And Happy New Year to my daughter. This will be at 26 Gemini of 43 minutes. And of course, we know the moon and the sun will be together at this time. It's at 9:38 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, and the ruler of Gemini, of course, is Mercury. And where is Mercury? Mercury is going to be sextile Venus in Leo. So this puts kind of a real nice spin on things. I would say royalty is going to be highlighted again, maybe with some messages of some sort or opportunities. It certainly speaks to love, generally speaking, love messages coming in here. Yeah, we've got this whole Leo thing starting to play out as well around this new moon in Gemini in a very beautiful way, right? Mercury is in Gemini at this time, so this is another positive influence for this new moon. When we look at Gemini, we are talking about, short distance travels, trade and commerce, that type of thing, siblings, and, early education or short courses are also indicated, and writing of any sort. So certainly this new moon, if you've got these, anything aspecting around this, say, 26-degree mark of Gemini, this could be a whole new beginning for some folks with regards to maybe a writing project of some sort. We will have Saturn retrograde at 7 degrees of Pisces till the 4th of November, right? Starting at this time. And Pluto will widely square the north nodes at 2 degrees of Taurus. And so there may be some challenges with regards to some people in power accepting the fact that we're moving on. That Pluto is going to go into Aquarius on a permanent basis for 20 years coming up pretty soon. It won't officially really get in there to 2025, but it's going to be in Aquarius enough in 2024 to exert quite an effect, quite a positive effect, especially on the collective, having things be more fair. Jupiter will be sextiling a retrograde Saturn. I don't see this as a negative thing. I see this as a time to potentially rewrite some of the rules. And if we bring it up to a collective level, this could be rewriting some of the rules with regards to foreign people and foreign nations. So this may translate into any immigrants, that type of thing may have to be reconsidered. The rules may have to be reconsidered with that respect, right? Venus will widely conjunct Mars in Leo. They never really conjunct completely, but hey, they're dancing around there very nicely in June. And so I really thought June was going to be, especially around this new moon, just a delightful time to start a relationship, to even develop friendships, to get into any kind of creative projects, very much favored here in June, especially at the new moon. So if that's something that you want to initiate, maybe pick this new moon just afterwards, maybe a day or two after the 17th to pull the trigger. But you can always, fit the details in the background to start off with and then make the announcements just after the new moon. But it really does support a lot of communication, positive communication, sales and commerce, and any kind of writing projects. And then with that whole Venus and Mars dance in Leo. It also, children are very involved with Leo too. So there could be some folks that have some very positive interactions with their children. But love, I think, is really at the forefront here because, of course, Venus is involved and Mars, and these are viewed as the celestial lovers. But more on that later in July, August, and September, and even October, because Venus stays in Leo that long. Again, Happy New Year to all my Gemini clients and viewers. Okay, we have also in June, of course, we have the Sun will be ingressing into Cancer, and that will be indicating our summer solstice, right? That's when the Sun goes to 0 degrees of Cancer. It will be at 7:58 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And Saturn will be retrograde at 7 degrees of Pisces. The Sun will sextile the North nodes. That's beautiful. The Moon will be in Leo, so we've got Leo accented again at 8 degrees, along with Venus and Mars in Leo. So you can see really like the latter part of June, especially around the summer solstice, has another big influences of Leo here. And don't forget that Leo asks us to be our authentic self, right? So at its core, this is a time for us to express who we really are. And maybe some of us will be expressing who we are on the stage, literally on the stage, if not metaphorically on the stage of life. So there may be some people that come into some element of fame around this time as well. And I'm talking about really the whole month of June, and actually even further than that, but I'm just going to focus on this month in this video. Let's see what else we've got happening. We have Mars sextiling Chiron nicely, and Uranus and Jupiter in Taurus, right? That's a good one too. And of course, you know, Uranus, we haven't talked about Uranus being in Taurus too, but Uranus, of course, is bringing in unexpected things at this time. Uranus will be at 21 degrees at this solstice time period. And that 21 degrees is an important degree for next year, which will be in April 2024, when Uranus at 21 degrees of Taurus conjuncts with Jupiter. And that I will talk about later, but certainly a very important time. So there may be something happen if you've got, say, some important point in your chart, like a sun, an ascendant, maybe a moon, or a conglomeration of planets around 21 degrees of Taurus. Watch what happens here around the solstice, and watch what happens, because there may be some significant, unexpected event that happens next year in April 2024 for you. But that certainly, for most of us, will be a once-in-a-lifetime event when we talk about April 2024 with that conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus. And I see it as a very positive thing. And of course, Pluto will still be retrograde at the summer solstice at 29 degrees of Capricorn. All right, so just give you a little peek into July 2023. We have a full moon in Capricorn, a new moon in Cancer, and the north nodes significantly will go into Aries. And of course, they start at 29 degrees at the end of the sign. And that'll be on the 18th of July. We have Venus going retrograde officially in Leo at 28 degrees of Leo, and Mercury will go into Leo. All right, next I am going to go into each of your sun and or ascendant signs next. Right, so Gemini. Gemini, that full moon in Sagittarius is in your 7th house. And so this really puts the accent on business partnerships and or marriage partnerships. So there could be some kind of culmination at this point for you that you have to deal with the other, as opposed to this being in your 1st house, which would be you taking all the action. This is you having to deal with other people is what it boils down to. Now, Gemini rules communications of any sort. It is writing and short trips. So all these could be wrapped up at this time. So there could be some indication of, say, a writing project comes to an end. Some kind of sales and commerce that you're dealing with in terms of foreign people, foreign things, also gets wrapped up at this time. Now, if we look at the new moon in your sign, Gemini, of course, we know that this is new starts for you. And it's all about you. And don't forget that you've got that positive influence of your ruler, Mercury, that is direct, also in Gemini. So this is a really positive new moon for all Geminis. But especially if you've got something, say, around the 12 to the 14 degree, not the 12 to 14, but the 25th to the 27th degree of Gemini, and or Sagittarius too, we can include that in there as well, just in terms of it being a positive influence for you. Now, we spoke a lot about Leo, and so I'm going to include that too for you. So that whole Venus and Mars that'll be in Leo sextiles your sign, and it's in your third house. So this sort of almost reinforces that whole communication thing. And why is that? Well, it's because, Gemini, you rule the third house. And the third house is all about communications. So this is just another extra emphasis here, I would say, on some very positive, potentially creative opportunities for you either to do some writing, to start some kind of commercial or sales project of some sort, or just to socialize. I mean, certainly Leo is a very social sign. It likes to get out there and strut its stuff. And in the third house, it says it likes to do a lot of talking and socializing. So, hey, Gemini, this could also indicate the month of June could be a very social month for you. Take care, Gemini. All right, Cancer. Cancer, this full moon in Sagittarius is in your 6th house. And the 6th house is a house of service for sure. And it is also, of course, your health house and then your day-to-day things that you do. Typically, that would be our job. But if you don't work, it's just what you do day to day. Somehow these things are going to culminate for you or end for you. Now, I actually got a strong indication that there was an emphasis here at this full moon in Sagittarius for you, Cancer, with regards to some kind of service. Maybe you've been giving. I mean, Cancer's a very giving sign, very compassionate, and likes to nurture. This full moon could have you stopping or making the decision to stop some kind of service that you've been giving that maybe isn't nurturing you, that you make some changes in that. But it can also have you making some positive changes with regards to your future health. Sagittarius is all about the future too. And so this could have some Cancers deciding, you know what, I've got to change the way I eat and the way I exercise. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to make a fresh start. I'm going to end one way of doing things and start another. Certainly that would be a very positive thing to do here too, Cancer. When we look at the new moon in Gemini, that's going to be in your 12th house. The 12th house is very much a hidden house, but it's a new start. So it's almost like a juxtaposition of energies here where you're required to make a new start, but it's kind of everything hidden. So it could be that some Cancers are starting something new, maybe a new writing project, maybe something to do with a sales or commercial event, initiative of some sort, but that you have to do it behind the scenes. Now, it can literally also mean that you're doing these things with hidden places, like hospitals, ashrams, prisons, government offices, all fall under the auspices of the 12th house too. Others just may be making a new start with regards to learning, that's very Gemini, the metaphysical world. And certainly with Mercury being in Gemini at that new moon, it would support something like that. So this could be literally you taking the initiative to maybe get a number of books to start reading about the metaphysical world. When we look at Venus and Mars in Leo, that's going to be in your second house. So for some Cancers, you may shoot to a little bit of fame here, and I'm just bringing that Leo part of it in. That increases your wealth or your income. The second house is all about income too. For others, you just may take some initiative with regards to being able to acquire some new possessions, or decide to take a step up and you decide to get on that stage, maybe literally or metaphorically, where you step up into your authentic self and people start seeing you in a different way. Take care, Cancer. So Leo, wow, Leo, you've got so many things happening in Leo. And then, of course, it's going to continue through the summer and actually right the way through the first week of October. I would suggest, Leo, that you, especially as a sign, might want to consider looking at my video for Venus retrograde in Leo, because I cover the whole time period, not just the retrograde time period. I think it might be of use to you. Anyway. That full moon in Sagittarius is in a fellow fire sign. So it trines your sign, and it's featuring the fifth house. Well, how awesome. You rule the fifth house as a sign, Leo, in the natural zodiac. And so I see this as a very positive culmination, Leo, or ending with regards to what? Well, anything fifth house. So the fifth house covers children. It covers true love or new love. It covers creative projects. It covers you being your authentic self. And so there could be, I would say, some endings or culminations of some sort. This could be the ending of a creative project that you've been working on for a long time. Sagittarius is about the future, right? And it's also about a foreign connection. So there may be some Leos that are finally tying up this creative project, and you're finally seeing the end of it. And it feels really good, but it's a big expression of your authentic self. So I think for Leos, this is a positive full moon in Sagittarius as a wrap up, maybe a much, I'm just thinking it's something that you've really waited for a long time, and that there's positive energy coming in to help you with that. Now, when we look at the new moon, that sextiles your sign, and the 11th house is featured. And so the 11th house is friends. It's the groups we belong to. It's the money that we make. It's our hopes in our own business. It's our hopes and wishes as well. So I'm just wondering for some Leos, as they see the culmination at the beginning of the month of some creative project gets tied up, they then get new opportunities, perhaps through the groups they belong to, or some friends that they have, or if they're really lucky, they get a chance to actually have some of their dreams and wishes as a possibility come true. Now, you're going to be supported, Leo, by Venus and Mars in your sign, Leo. And especially at the solstice time period, where we have the moon at 8 degrees of Leo. And that's on the 21st of June. Wow, I mean, Leo, this could be like a banner month for you, especially June. Now, it's going to carry through other months too, especially through the summer, but this could be you coming to a little or a big fame element where you are featured. This is unusual to have so much going on in your sign that continues on for many months afterwards. So you may be offered another opportunity to do another creative project because you've done such a good job with the first one and you get recognition for it at the full moon. And then another one is given to you at that new moon in Gemini. In particular, this is going to be something Gemini related. It could involve more short trips for you though. But this is writing projects. This is sales and commerce, that type of thing. I mean, it could even play out as you presenting, having to be a person that literally gets on the stage and presents information to people, that some element, big or small, of fame puts you on that stage presenting some important information. All right, Leo. Well, next month, Leo, you've got that whole Venus going retrograde in your sign, and we'll talk about that next month. Take care, Leo. All right, Virgo. Virgo, this full moon in Sagittarius squares your sign, and it involves the 4th house. And I'm going to talk about the new moon at the same time here in Gemini, because that squares your 10th house. And so this whole month of June, you've got a playoff of your career, your home, family, maybe your mother. 10th house can also feature your reputation. So it's almost like I get this picture of these being played off back and forth all month. First of all, it's going to be some culmination with regards to your home or your family or your mother, where there's a challenge that you have to work with disparate elements to make something work in the home. But because the 10th house is opposite the 4th house, whatever you do in your home is going to affect your career as well. And I'm almost getting this feeling of, I'm doing it in order because of the moons being in order, i.e. that the 4th house is to begin with the Sagittarian full moon, and then the new moon later on with the Gemini element of it and your career. But I think the mix is going to be there all month. That's what I'm getting as an intuitive hit right now for you, Virgo. So what I would do is, I'm making this, just towards the first week or so of May. I would say maybe now in May, look at both these areas. Look at your career and look at your home. Is there something you need to or could adjust in those areas of your life to avoid having big challenges? Squares also mean that, challenges are going to be there, but it also means that you've got to work at it. And it might be, for some Virgos, that it's better for you to work at your career. And yet other Virgos, it's better for you to be working with regards to your home or your family. Obviously, it's great to get a balance of both. But you might want to work at this now, looking at the whole layout of your home, family, as well as mother, and your career, your reputation, that type of thing. And see if there's some adjustments that you can make this month in May that may alleviate some real problems with regards to these different houses for you. But I can tell you one thing, that both Sagittarius and Gemini are mutable signs, and that they can change, right? They're willing and open to be flexible and change. So keep those words in mind as you are meeting with some potential challenges here, where you've got to work at getting things right in the home and work at getting things right in the 10th house of career. Be flexible and be open to changing your mind or changing your direction in either of these areas of your life. Do that and you're going to be fine, Virgo. All right, so that whole Venus and Mars in Leo is going to be in your 12th house. So there might be some Virgos that have some creative project that has to be kept under wraps, that's secret. It can also mean a love relationship has to be kept in the background and that you can't bring it out into the open for whatever reason. But I think it's going to be more to do with some kind of creative projects here, because there may be a tie-in with that 10th house of career, right? With the new moon in Gemini. And this could also be this creative project ties into that, where you can't bring it out into the open right now. It has to be kept behind the scenes, and you're working really hard to get that creative project moving forward but you're still having to attend things in your career. It's like juggling, right? There may be a bit of that for you, Virgo. Take care, Virgo. All right, Libra. Libra, this full moon in Sagittarius is in your 3rd house, and it sextiles your sign. And so this is bringing you opportunities to do what? To wrap up some things, to wrap up a writing project, to wrap up maybe some short journeys, maybe even doing a lot of short journeys in your job, and you're now given the opportunity to stop all that short distance travel. It could have you also maybe wrapping up something with regards to something in your neighborhood with neighbors or your siblings. Maybe you've been working with your siblings to put something together. It could be contracts of some sort too. I mean, that's the 3rd house as well. So there could be, you finally sign off on a contract. Now, the contract could be to do with some foreign element here. It can also be, even though the 3rd house isn't publishing directly, that's the 9th house, because it's a full moon in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius in the natural zodiac rules the 9th house of publishing. I would say this could have, for some Librans, a culmination and ending of a writing project that you now see can get published, or you get an opportunity to get it published. For others, it could be working with folks in foreign lands and overseas lands to put a commercial or sales projects together. There's going to be a new moon in Gemini, and that is going to trine your sign, Libra, and it'll be in the 9th house. And with Mercury supporting that as well, I would say this could support that whole thing at the full moon. Maybe this new moon is going to literally see you with the published work in your hand. For others, it might be you having a new start with regards to maybe being a teacher. Sagittarius in the 9th house can represent teachers. So there could be some folks that tied up some education at the full moon in Sagittarius, and they now are given the opportunity to become a teacher. Certainly, communications are big here. So it could be for others that you'll be communicating a lot more. It may be to do with the law. It can also have others writing about travel or talking about travel. The 9th house is a house of travel too. So it may have some Librans putting together some fabulous new travel of some sort, a great trip that they've wanted to do. You'll certainly be very supported with that trine. And when we look at Venus and Mars in Leo for you, it also sextiles you, and it's in the 11th house of friends. So I say, work with your male and female friends, that's of course Venus and Mars, to maybe put a great trip together. I like that new moon to combine those two different things, where maybe that's what some Librans are going to do, is pull together some of their friends and put together this fabulous trip. And you're involved in putting it all together, like maybe making the contracts, communicating with travel agents, communicating with your friends. But this may be a dream come true for you with regards to some kind of trip that you may want to take with your friends or groups that you belong to. Take care, Libra. So Scorpio, that full moon in Sagittarius is going to be in your 2nd house. And so the 2nd house really speaks to the income that you earn, your values, your possessions, that type of thing. So there could be some wrap up where you may decide you want to end some source of income, and typically that means ending maybe a job that you're doing. It may be associated with, there may be a foreign connection associated with this. Or you could also see a time period when you're consolidating. I'm getting this feeling of consolidating your possessions, and you decide to maybe sell some of your possessions so that you can move on to something different with regards to where you are earning your income. Now, the new moon in Gemini for you, Scorpio, is going to be in the 8th house. And the nice thing about this is that the 8th house is naturally ruled by you, Scorpio. And so this is a benefit. And you're going to have Mercury here too. So for some Scorpios, there may be some behind the scenes communications that are important for you. Now, the 8th house does rule inheritances. So certainly there's going to be some Scorpios that inherit at this time. But it's also, shared resources as well. So it could be that, again, I'm getting this feeling of some kind of consolidation, but also a new start with regards to maybe investing. You may get some opportunities to invest here that are working kind of behind the scenes, but that are positive for you. So I guess watch, Scorpio, for any communications that come in with regards to investing. I'm getting that as a kind of a clear message here for at least some Scorpios. Mm-hmm. I mean, the other thing that the 8th house does represent, of course, is more serious, deep relationships. So it could be for other Scorpios. You take a relationship to the next level. And with the Gemini influences of communication, that you communicate that to folks, that you are now official, or that this is a serious relationship for you. That could also be happening around that new moon. I see it as a very supportive new moon, generally speaking. So the whole Venus-Mars in Leo squares your sign in the 10th house, Scorpio. So I would say that you may have some challenges with regards to relationships. I think it might be as simple as that. And because it's the 10th house, it might be that you're having to put so much extra work into the job that you're doing that your relationships are suffering a little bit. I would say just do your best. Do the job. Maybe you're required to work hard at this time. We just have some times when we have to do that, right? And do your best to explain why you're working so hard, and then allow some time here to enjoy those people that you love. But certainly your career will be focused here with regards to having to really put your shoulder into your work at this time. All right, Scorpio, take care. So Sagittarius, that full moon is in your sign, so it's your first house is being highlighted. And Jupiter will be conjuncting the north nodes at 4 degrees of Taurus in your 6th house. And so the 6th house is tied in here a little bit too, right? And that's, of course, a number of things. It's certainly your health. It's your work that you do as well. And I'm thinking that there may be some opportunities here that you need to look at that maybe you've not had a chance to look at. And I think that full moon in Sagittarius could bring them to light for you. And so it's probably important to pay attention to anything that comes in with a foreign connection. Teaching is another thing that's very much associated with Sagittarius. The law, to some extent as well, can be brought in here too. Yeah. But certainly there's going to be some kind of endings, because it's a full moon in Sagittarius, some kind of endings for you. What else could it be? It might be for some folks that they've been traveling. I mean, Sagittarius is very much a travel sign. And with the full moon, it could be for some Sagittarians that you end a trip at this time. But there's going to be some tie-in here with regards to some kind of karmic type thing, because your ruler, Jupiter, conjuncts the north nodes. I think there's going to be some, certainly some kind of ending, but I don't think it's all going to be negative, Sagittarius. Because the ending, I think, is going to allow you to move forward with regards to a new destiny path for yourself. And here we're talking about the north nodes, Jupiter conjunct the north nodes. Now, when we look at the new moon in Gemini, that's going to be in your 7th house. And we're going to have Venus and Mars will be in Leo, a fellow fire sign. So that's going to be trining your 9th house. So let's start off first with the new moon in Gemini in your 7th house. Straight off the bat, and Mercury will be supporting you at this time too in the 7th house. I would say that there's going to be some announcements by some Sagittarians of a marriage, and or there could be some new business partnership that you have to announce, and or both. But it has everything to do with communications about some kind of new start. For a lot of people, a lot of the Sagittarians, it's going to be an announcement about joining with somebody else, ostensibly for a marriage. And how lovely is it that Venus and Mars in Leo trine your sign, Sagittarius, and it's in the 9th house. So this could involve some kind of foreign connection for you with regards to that. It could also have something to do with the law, for sure. But it's also, I think, at that higher level of, reaching for something that is really at a higher level with regards to what you want to do in your life. Aiming for that. That's going to be tied in, I believe, with both the full moon and the new moon. And for some, looking at that new moon in Gemini, this could have some Sagittarius announcing that they're getting married. I mean, that's a beautiful combination to have the 7th house and the 9th house being featured here. And so congratulations for those Sagittarians that are deciding to join with somebody in marriage. Certainly it's nicely supported, for sure, very nicely supported. For others, it might just be a new business arrangement of some sort. I mean, the 7th house can reflect that too, where there's a business partnership that you put together that's very, that's brought out in a big way and is supported by both Venus and Mars in Leo, because it will form a sextile with that, right? So opportunities. So there may be some business partnerships as well for other Sagittarians at that new moon in Gemini. Take care of yourself, Sagittarius. So Capricorn, the full moon in Sagittarius is in your 12th house. The 12th house is very much kind of a behind-the-scenes type house. It doesn't have things necessarily being brought into the open. It could have you traveling for some reason and not being able to really speak about it. It could have you just dealing with some things that involve hidden places, hidden institutions of some sort, where that's where you have to wrap things up of some sort. So these could be hospitals, ashrams, prisons, that sort of thing. There could be some illumination here for you around this full moon in Sagittarius, where you have to wrap some things up, but that it also brings a spotlight to something in your life. Now, it could also bring a spotlight to some hidden side of your life, Capricorn, that you have to maybe deal with. You will have that new moon in Gemini will be in your 6th house. And so the 6th house is really more kind of like our day-to-day activities in terms of our jobs, that sort of thing. And if you don't work, it's the day-to-day things that you do. And so there's some new start here for you. So there'll be some Capricorns that are literally starting a new job at this time. And you'll be certainly supported by the fact that Mercury will also be beside there. So you'll be maybe making some new announcements about a new job that you're doing. For others, it might be related to health, a new start in health, that you're able to communicate about how you're feeling so much better now because of this new technique or new regimen that you've been taking, and you're really happy about it. That Venus and Mars in Leo will be in your 8th house. And so 8th house is, in many respects, it's your resources, that type of thing. At its best, it's an inheritance of some sort. Now, not everyone's going to have an inheritance happen at this time. But the Venus, of course, is money, and Mars is action. So there will be some that may benefit through some kind of inheritance of some sort. Yeah. It could also just be that you unveil some kind of creative way of dealing with your resources. So for some Capricorns, you could be working with, say, a bank to get a loan approved. The Venus and Mars could mean that too. I mean, typically we look at Venus and Mars as, the celestial lovers. But Venus can also mean money, and Mars can mean action too. Because the 8th house is kind of a resource type house, it could mean for some Capricorns that you get approved for a loan that you've really, really wanted, maybe for more than what you wanted. Take care, Capricorn. All right, for Aquarius, the full moon in Sagittarius sextiles your sign, and it's in the 11th house. Well, this really activates opportunities with regards to, I would say, foreign friends. Sagittarius is a foreign type sign. It's also associated with institutions like schools. So it could also have opportunities for some Aquarians to go back to school. But I think most of all, this is going to be activating your hopes and wishes. You're going to get an opportunity here it's a full moon, so it's a culmination for some Aquarians to have a dream come true. A dream that you've maybe been working on for a long time, and that you can see in the future what it's going to look like. I'm just saying, though, I think friends and groups that you belong to may be very much involved to make that dream come true for you, especially foreign ones. Because, of course, Sagittarius rules the foreign world as well, right? And it's associated with universities, too. So that element might be there as well. We have the new moon in Gemini will be trining your sign, and it'll involve the 5th house. Well, this is fabulous. And you're also going to have the ruler Mercury also in Gemini supporting you in that 5th house. So these are going to be some fabulous opportunities for some Aquarians. In what? Well, to communicate about this great creative project that they've just had approved or that they brought to light. Just at its core, that 5th house is creativity. But it could be for others. It involves a communication about a new true love in their life. For other Aquarians, it could be an announcement of a birth of a child. Or a pregnancy, for that matter. But that 5th house is a very, very creative house. And I really like the 5th house as an energy. It's creative projects too, right? So, yeah, you're going to be making some announcements, Aquarius, in one or more of those areas. Now, the Venus bars in Leo is opposite, and it's going to be in the 7th house. So this could have you, and that's going to be operating most of the month, it could have you making some announcements that's tied into that 5th house. Maybe you will decide that you're going to get married. For some folks, that might be it. And that's the announcement that you have to make. Because Gemini, that new moon in Gemini, Gemini is all about communications, right? I just get that as an intuitive hit here. For others, it might just be some kind of creative project that you put together that you want to make an announcement about. Maybe a group, a new group that you want to belong to in terms of creating things is important for you to make an announcement about. Take care, Aquarius. All right, so Pisces. Pisces, that full moon in Sagittarius squares your 10th house. And the new moon in Gemini squares your 4th house. And so there's a juxtaposition here where, kind of a bit like Virgo, you're going to have to make some adjustments with regards to your home and your career. Neither of these are going to be going super smooth, but it doesn't mean things won't turn out. So with the full moon aspecting your 10th house, something may come to light in your career that you have to take care of. Now, it could have to do with travel of some sort. Maybe some trip that was important for you to take is canceled. Or your boss says you're not going on that trip that you thought you were going to go on. Or some promotion that you were seeking, Pisces, doesn't seem to be coming to light for you. But don't give up. It just means there may be a delay in that, right? For other Pisces, it just may have you working very hard. The tie-in with Sagittarius may be saying that you've got to cancel some trips that you were planning on making and stay more local instead with regards to your career. And that becomes more important for you as a focus. When we look at the new moon in Gemini, that's more affecting your 4th house of home. And with the square there, it could be that, because Gemini is very much to do with communications, that communications aren't going so great. So it could have literally communications with people in the home. A lot of times these communications are associated with our family, but in particular our mother. So there could be just some difficult communications. Maybe there's some messages that you've got to deliver to people in the home that maybe they don't want to hear, but that you've got the task to actually deliver them. It's not insurmountable, so don't think it is. It just means that there's going to be some challenges there. And it could mean that there's just going to be some challenges with regards to communicating with your mother. Could be something as simple as that, and or family members, all 4th house. But it's the mother more than anything else. And, for other Pisces, you may have to, deliver some information to a family member or your mother that they may have difficulty accepting. But that's okay. So Venus and Mars in Leo will be in your 6th house. So you could have some real opportunities here with regards to your day-to-day job or your health that are really positive with this aspect of Venus and Mars. Certainly Venus and Mars in the 6th house could bring some lovely opportunities for maybe a new job or a new way of doing your job and or a new way of doing your health. Yeah, so see what comes up for you during the month of June with regards to all of those areas. But the focus is going to be on your day-to-day job, but the health is right there too, right? Take care, Pisces. So for Aries, Aries, that full moon in Sagittarius is positive for you because it is a fellow fire sign. So it trines your sign. And it involves the ninth house, rather. And so the ninth house could be for you, maybe you wrap up some trip that you've been on. For others, you may be wrapping up some advanced education of some sort. And for others, you may positively be wrapping up some kind of legal matter of some sort. And or publications. You finally get something published. Yeah, very positive for you with that trine, Aries. Now, the new moon will be sextiling your sign, Aries, and it's in Gemini. It involves your third house. Third house is mainly communications. It's other things too, but you've also got the planet of communications, Mercury, nicely attending to that new moon in Gemini too. And so this just says to me that you may have some very positive news. You may receive some positive news, and you may also have some positive news yourself to announce at this time. It's a new moon. Gemini is all about communications. I mean, it could also have you starting a new writing project as well, because Gemini is very much in that realm too, of writing too. Now, when we look at the influence of Venus and Mars in Leo, that trines your sign, and it involves the fifth house. And so the fifth house is like big romance, but it's also creativity too. It could have both these areas coming into play. But I would say that you could have a new romance, an opportunity to develop a romance around this time. And certainly Leo isn't afraid to express its emotions and be affectionate, right? And be loving. So at the very least, Aries, I would say during this month of June, you may be a lot more affectionate. You may have opportunities to not only express your affections to somebody, but have some of those affections come back to you too, right? You want to balance on that. You don't want to be always giving out. You want to be receiving too. And I see this as a very positive time for you to be receiving. For others, it could just be that you have a great opportunity to develop a creative project. That's very fifth house. And for others, that creative project could be a child. So if that's something you want, literally to, generate the possibilities to have a child, for some Aries, this could work out very well for the month of June. Take care, Aries. So for Taurus. So Taurus, this full moon in Sagittarius is in your 8th house. And the 8th house is very much viewed as a hidden house. It's also a house where relationships can become much deeper. It's a house where money and investments are involved. So there's going to be some Taurians where maybe an investment that you've been working hard at, you see the end of it now, and maybe you get the money given to you. Investments become big for you at this time. It could also be for others that you decide you want to cash in some of your investments. And this full moon reflects that. For others, it may mean you want to move some of your investments or money around. And with the Sagittarius influence, maybe you want to put it into some kind of future market, the futures. That might be up here too for you. Now, when we look at the new moon in Gemini, that's your second house. And so the second house is also involved with investments too. But from the standpoint, or money rather, it's more from the standpoint of the money that you make. And so, hey, there's going to be some Taurians that may have some new start with regards to the job that they're doing. And that's going to be supported by, Gemini's ruler, Mercury, which will also be in Gemini. So you could have some important announcements to make with regards to maybe a new job that you're taking on. Yeah. Certainly Gemini is all about communications. So whatever is going to happen around this, I would say that there will be some announcements that you'll be making. And I think the vast majority of Taurians are going to be making a new announcement about the job that they currently do or about a new job that they're taking on. Now, you're going to have Venus and Mars that are in Leo will be squaring you and your fourth house. So this could be that maybe that new job that you're going to be taking on doesn't sit well with regards to your family, that there are going to have to be adjustments that are made there. That's very much what the square is. It could also mean for some Taurians that adjustments have to be made with regards to their relationship that they're in, that they have to say, well, look, now that I've got this new opportunity in this job, we're going to have to move. Fourth house is your home. And that you have to deal with people in your home that aren't overly keen on maybe moving. And so this just gives you the heads up for those Taurians that aren't in this situation. Maybe start thinking now about how you can present this in a positive way. Certainly Leo, which is where Venus and Mars will be in, is a very creative sign. So I would say just present all this very creatively for those Taurians that are making changes in their career in a positive way. And, just be patient, I guess, is the main thing. Now, the other thing that Leo, and I don't talk about this a lot, the other thing that Leo can bring up are children. And so it could be that as a result of your career, some big adjustment by your child has to be made. So maybe I'm making this early May. Maybe think about that for those Taurians that are in this situation. How can you present this change to your children where it will be more accepted and seen as something positive for them? You might have to think about that. But certainly your fourth house is going to be affected here. And it literally could be your home as well, where you have to change it up for some reason as a result of some change in your career path. But you've still got Uranus in here too. So, Uranus also can bring in unexpected positive things. So don't think that Uranus is always going to be bringing something unexpected and bad. It could be unexpected and good too, right? And certainly with Jupiter now also in Taurus, that brings favor. So whatever difficult decisions some of you Taurians have to make, know that you've got that beneficial influence of Jupiter in your sign now for the next year. And maybe have confidence. For others, maybe you are going to have to seek out professional advice. Nothing wrong with that. All right. Take care, Taurus. Okay, folks, that wraps up my June 2023 Astrology. As always, I'm always interested to hear from you. I think this is going to be a very, just a really exciting month love-wise. And also fame too. So, we're talking about this Leo influence, which is so predominant, not only in June, but because everything is moving forward, the planets in Leo are moving forward and they're not retrograde. It's a little bit of a better month with regards to positive results from potentially fame and love and creativity. These are big things that are ruled by Leo. And of course, children too. So enjoy what you can enjoy. And for those that are coming to some level of fame with that Leo, I'm wishing you all the best and congratulations. All right, folks, I am going to see you next month. Please take good care of yourself. I'm always interested in hearing from you. And I'm going to wish you all the best in that month of June, especially with regards to true love. That's really at the heart of Leo. They just want to have true love. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.